For this last week of statistics, we're going to cover just two more topics, and they are both types of statistical displays. In other words, they are different ways that we can represent data. Our topic for today, for this lesson, is line plots, and you've actually already kind of seen them, but we're going to dive into them a little bit more today. A line plot is a visual display of a distribution of data values where each data value is shown as a dot or an X above a number line. So there's two skills I need you to learn this week regarding this topic, and the first skill is to make a line plot. So let's say in my algebra class, I asked each student the number of pets that they have. One student said they had 3 pets. Another one said they had 2 pets. This student here only has 1 pet. This student here has 0 pets. And these are all the number of pets that each student has. What we're going to do to make a line plot is first order the numbers from least to greatest. Now, the smallest number that I see is 0. And the biggest number that I see is 4. And the numbers in between are 1, 2, and 3. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay? And so once you've made your number line, all you're doing is putting an X above the number every time you see it. So this 3, I see it one time, so I'm going to draw an X here, and then I'm going to cross it off. I have a 2 here, so I'll put that as an X, and then I'll cross it off. I have another 2. I'll mark it with an X, and then I'll cross it off. I continue this pattern basically until I've gone through all the numbers in my list. I have a 3 here, cross off. I have a 1, so I'm going to mark it. I have a 0, mark it with an X, cross it out. I have a 1, mark it with an X, cross it out. Another 0, and so on and so on. So I'm going to actually take the time to do this. I have this 2 here, cross out, a 3, cross out, a 4, cross out, a 0, cross out, a 1, cross out, another 1, cross out, a 4, cross it out, a 2, another 2, a 1, a 2, another 2, a 3, a 0, and a 2. Okay. Whew. So that took a while, but that's basically all it takes to make a line plot, right? We're just representing this data virtually. And this is nice because now we can see our data a bit more clearly. We can see some really quick things. For example, most people have only 2 pets. These numbers down here are the number of pets. Always be sure to include a title. So most people have 2 pets. Only 2 people have 4 pets. 4 people have 0 pets, and so on and so on. That's why this is useful. You will also be asked to make a line plot from a chart, and this is kind of nice because it already counts it for you. So let's say that Mr. Baeza and Mr. Gamariello, the coaches of the high school soccer team, counted the soccer goals made by a player. So this chart is basically telling us that 7 players made 0 goals, 3 players made 1 goal, 6 players made 2 goals, and so on and so on. To visualize how many players made each number of goals, the goals are going to go along my axis. So I'm going to mark it as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And these are the goals made by a player. Okay? So remember the left side of my column, so my left column, my goals are going to be the bottom of this. And now I'm going to draw an X for every number that shows up here. So 7 players made 0 goals. So I'm going to represent that by drawing 7 X's. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, since 7 players made 0 goals, I'm going to put 7 X's above the 0. It looks like 3 players made 1 goal, so I'm going to do 1, 2, 3. 6 players made 2, So I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Done. 5 players made 3. 2 players made 4. No players made 5, so I'm not going to include anything there. And then 1 player only made 6. Again, this is really nice because it's really easy now to see that the most number of players didn't actually score any points. 1 lucky player scored 6 points, or 1 really good player scored 6 points, and actually quite a few people scored between 2 and 3. So that's the first skill, is just making a line plot. The second skill that we're going to learn is interpreting line plots. So here I already have a line plot created, and it's showing the price of paintings, maybe at an art gallery, and the number of paintings that cost that much. As you can see, 2 paintings cost 30, 3 paintings cost 35, 3 paintings cost 40, and so on and so on. What we're going to focus on here is just understanding what the data is telling us, and we're going to just do that by answering some questions. The first question we're going to answer is, what is the mode? And if you remember back to last week, the mode is simply the number that shows up the most. In this case, it's going to be the highest peak here. It's going to be the column with the most number of x's. And as we look at our graph, it's very obvious and very clear that 45 is our mode. That is the mode cost, because 4 paintings cost $45, which is more than any other cost. Only 3 cost 40, only 35 cost, or only 3 cost 35. Remember, the mode is the one that has the most number of x's, or the most number of occurrences. What is the median? Okay, so this one's a little bit trickier, but if you remember that the median is simply the middle value, we just have to find the middle of all these x's. There's 2 ways to do this, and I'm going to start with the way that I like the least. The first is to just list all of these numbers from least to greatest. So I'm going to list them up here actually, just because I have more space. So I have 2 30s. I have 3 35s. I have 3 40s. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 45s. And I have 170. And then what I would do next to find the middle number is you cross 1 off at the bottom, 1 off at the top. Bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top, bottom, top. And let's count how many, because if we have the middle value, then there should be an even number of crossed off numbers on each side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the middle number is 40. If I did that correctly, then 40 should be the median. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to show you another way to do it that I kind of like more, because it doesn't require us to write this. So we're going to do the same idea of crossing off a number at the bottom and a number at the top, but we're just going to cross off the x's from least to greatest. So we're going to start by crossing off one of the least values of our x's, and then our highest value, our lowest, and the next highest, our lowest, and the next highest, lowest, next. And we're going to keep this going, and we've arrived at the middle x, which is also 40. So as you can see, that's 2 different ways to do it. You can write out the number of x's as individual numbers and find the middle number, or you can just cross the numbers off within your actual line plot. Okay, the next question is asking us to find the range. And if you remember, the range is the maximum cost or maximum value minus the minimum value. Here I have my maximum price, which is $70, and my minimum cost is $30. So I'm just going to do 70 minus 30, and I get $40. That's the range in prices. 4 is asking how many paintings cost more than $45. So how many paintings, how many X's are more than $45? Well, we're not going to count these because these actually do cost $45, and we want to know how many cost more than $45. And if we look at our line graph, there's only one painting that costs more than that. So our answer is one painting. Lastly, how many paintings are there in total? Well, to do this, you just count the number of X's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 paintings. Okay? We're going to wrap up with one final example because I want us to be really, really comfortable with this. And this last line plot shows us the chocolate chips in cookies. So along the bottom, we have the number of chocolate chips, and the X's represent different numbers of cookies. For example, one cookie had 5 chocolate chips in it. 3 cookies had 6 chocolate chips in it. 2 cookies had 7 chocolate chips. 4 cookies had 8 chips, and so on. My first question is, how many cookies are there in total? And since the X represents the number of cookies, we're just going to count the number of X's. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. There are 19 cookies in total. Okay? Question 2 is asking how many cookies had at least 9 chocolate chips. So we want to know the cookies that had 9 or more chips. The words at least mean we want to know 9 chocolate chip cookies or more. So in this case, we actually do want to count these values above the 9 because these cookies all had 9 chips, and then we also care about the number of chips above here. So let's start by counting these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So actually 9 cookies had at least 9 chips or more. Now this question would have been different. What if it had just said how many cookies had more than 9 chips? In that case, we would actually not count this column because we want to know how many have more than 9. So we would just look at the values that are bigger than 9. Our answer would just be 4 cookies. Okay, we're almost finished. The mean value, remember the mean, we have to add up the total number of chips and then divide by the number of data points. In this case, the number of cookies. So this one's going to take a little bit, but here's how we do it. We want to find the total number of chocolate chips, and we're going to divide by the total number of cookies. We already know the number of cookies. We found that over here. It was 19 cookies. But how are we going to find the total number of chocolate chips? Well, let's figure this out. And we're just going to go from least to greatest. We know that one cookie had 5 chocolate chips. So in this column, there's a total of 5 chocolate chips represented. In this column, we had 1, 2, 3 cookies that had 6 chocolate chips. So that means 3 cookies with 6 chocolate chips each is the same as 3 times 6, or 18. So this column represents 18 total chocolate chips. Here we have 2 cookies that that each have 7 chocolate chips. So if there are 2 cookies that each have 7 chocolate chips, then in total there are 14 chocolate chips here. Do you see the pattern or the strategy? In this column, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cookies that each have 8 chocolate chips. So 4 times 8 is 32. In this column, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cookies that each have 9 chocolate chips. So 5 times 9 is 45. We're going to finish with the same strategy. So here we have 2 cookies that each have 10. So 2 times 10 is 20. And then here we just have 1 cookie that has 12 chocolate chips and 1 cookie that has 13 chocolate chips. All right, we're getting closer, and this is where you can use your calculator. We're going to add up the total number of chips. So 5 plus 18 plus 14 plus 32 plus 45 plus 20 plus 12 plus 13 gets us a grand total of 159 chocolate chips. Okay? And now we just have a division problem, and we can use our calculator. We're going to divide 159 by 19. So 159 divided by 19 gets us 8.368 cookies. We're going to round this to the nearest tenth, so we're just going to write 8.4. Okay? Now this is a funky number because we're saying that each cookie on average has 8.4 chocolate chips in it. How do you have 0.4 of a chip? Well, maybe it's just a little piece that broke off, or if we were to divide all the chips, each cookie would get 8 chips and then 0.4 of a chip, but this is our mean value. It is a decimal, and that's okay. We're almost finished. Next, we're going to find the median, and we're going to use the method that I introduced in the last example. So I'm going to start by crossing off the bottom number and the top. Bottom, top, bottom, top. And I'm going to keep going until I find a number that's in the middle. And there it is. Just to be sure, I should have the same number of slashes above or below this 8 and above. So I'm just going to count to be sure. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers that I crossed off below 8. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers that I crossed off above 8. So that is the true median. That is the true middle number. So the median number of cookies is, or the median number of chocolate chips is 8. 8 chips. Not 8 cookies, 8 chips. Lastly, the range in chocolate chips is just going to be the highest number of chocolate chips minus the lowest number. So I'm just going to do 13 minus 5. And we get also, miraculously, the number 8. So as you can see, 8 was a pretty strong number throughout. That's it for this lesson. Thank you for watching. Please reach out to Perez-Luna if you have any questions, and I hope you learned something new today.